And then you have kind of similar stuff in 1720 with the South Sea Company. Everyone saw a lot of money being made in at least the first part of the bubble. And outside of the South Sea Company, you actually had a ton of other kind of startups being floated, and investors were going crazy for those as well. I was actually reading an original source document the other day, and there was a newspaper article describing people, speculators, like walking into the various taverns and coffee houses, which is where people were buying and selling shares. And they were proclaiming, we want shares of projects, which was slang for companies. Give us subscriptions. We do not care for which companies like they are. We just want subscription. Like, we just want to buy stocks. We literally don't care what they are. And so again, this is kind of example of South Sea Company exploding, astronomical returns. People suddenly get really interested in the stock market because they see other people getting rich off the kind of first mover, the first great investment of that period, and kind of herding into other stocks. And in the 1820s, you have a similar kind of dynamic. There's a bubble in 1825 where there's some successful Latin American mining stocks. And then after that, there's an explosion in Latin American mining stocks, and by British investors, because there's low yielding government bonds at the time. So they had to chase returns elsewhere, and they all herded into these popular Latin American mining stocks, some of which didn't even exist. They were just floated, but there was no mine or anything actually to the companies. And the kind of other interesting example is, again, in the 1890s, there's a lot of examples. I don't know if you want this many, but I can go for a long time. In the 1890s in London, you had a bicycle boom, which is really interesting, where there was kind of a technological revolution, which sounds silly today because we're talking about bicycles, but at the time there was changes to the way the bicycle frames and tires were manufactured, which made it easy to mass produce. And the British public just became enamored with bicycles. And they started looking less like those ridiculous old-fashioned ones you see with like the massive wheel at the front.
Penny farthings, or whatever they were called.
Yeah. Then they started just looking like normal bicycles you see today. And you can see Professor John Turner from Queen's University Belfast. He's a Liverpool fan, so we'll give him a pass. But he wrote a paper with his colleague William Quinn showing that, again, you see the first kind of bicycle companies, their stock returns were doing great after they listed. And there's this lag where the number of companies being listed explodes once the returns on those early bicycle companies start kind of soaring.